It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does, and great to have you with us on this Friday edition of the show. A lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Page versus the Prince, NFL picks coming up later on in the show. Tino Pattigno will be here from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and Tubi to preview this week's race in Martinsville. Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, is here as he is every Friday. There is a lot to sort of digest on this NBA illegal betting controversy, the arrests that were made yesterday. We will dissect it now that we've all had about 24 hours to sort of soak it in and look at the charges and get all the information that we can possibly have right now. We'll get to that coming up in about 10 minutes. But we start things out in the NFL, and Sam Yarnell is here. Carson Wentz is here. I don't know how much longer he's going to be here for the Vikings, because after last night, you have to wonder how many more opportunities he gets. And frankly, he's getting the crap kicked out of him there because the Vikings can't protect him. Look, the Chargers win this game, and I'll get to the Chargers side of this briefly in a second, because this is more about what the Vikings are right now at 3-4 and sort of meandering through the season without J.J. McCarthy. And as much as people are going to want to put this on the idea of, well, J.J. McCarthy now should be the starting quarterback, unless they can protect the quarterback better, Sam, it's not going to matter who's the quarterback. They can bring back Johnny Unitas. They can bring back Joe Montana. They can go get Tom Brady. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is if you cannot protect him. And yeah, there might have been a couple of sacks last night where maybe Carson Wentz is hanging on to the football too long. But in general, they are not doing a good enough job protecting Carson Wentz and giving him an opportunity to win. And I don't know if I've seen enough of J.J. McCarthy to be convinced that simply replacing Carson Wentz with J.J. McCarthy and this offensive line is going to change all that much, Sam.
Yeah, all right. So I think, you and I touched on it briefly yesterday, but the whole J.J. McCarthy situation is obviously weird, right? The Vikings obviously don't think that they have everything they thought they had on draft night in terms of J.J. McCarthy, and obviously everybody made that excessively clear last night when talking about his ankle injury. Listen, it's very rare that you get to watch a career end on an NFL field. You got to watch that with Carson Wentz last night. There's no chance that guy takes another snap in the National Football League. I'm pretty sure his left arm had fallen off by the time that game was over. So yeah, it was a great career for Carson Wentz. He's a Super Bowl champion. It's really unfortunate it had to end that way. From a Vikings perspective, this team is reeling. I mean, I said it yesterday on the show. This is a team that is in free fall right now, and that's not just because of their quarterback situation. I do think the offensive line narrative that seemed to drum up in like the middle of the third quarter when everyone realized that the Vikings were actually starting a paraplegic under center for that game is a little bit. I mean, he took 5 sacks in the game. That's not some exorbitant amount. That's not Justin Fields taking 9 sacks in New York, in London just a couple of weeks ago. So as much as, people are talking about this offensive line in Minnesota, this is actually, as an offensive line aficionado, this is a very accomplished offensive line that has a lot of talent on it, some of which they got back last night in Christian Darrisaw. So I'm not very concerned about that Minnesota offensive line. I am concerned about the running game. And I think that's what the quarterback, whoever it may be, is going to struggle with the most going forward, is that this offense has turned completely one-dimensional when they're having any semblance of success. All they can do successfully right now is throw the ball. They cannot get any sort of momentum running the football right now. And when you talk about a young quarterback, that is incredibly important to have a running game that you can lean on and go back to, so that you're not counting on your rookie or second year, but really a rookie quarterback to throw the ball 40 times a game. I am worried about the Minnesota Vikings, and it was on full display last night in Los Angeles.
Well, look, 8 quarterback hits, 13 pressures, 5 sacks. You can't just talk about the sacks if you're talking about the cumulative effect in this game. And obviously Carson Wentz is not 100% healthy. So I think if we're going to talk about, maybe it's not the offensive line, I think we got to look at the total picture here from this game last night. And it wasn't just the sacks, it was the hits, it was the hurries. He was under pressure all night. It just seemed like he was under siege throughout that entire game. Now, to the Chargers side of this, What you saw last night is how important Joe Alt is to this team and how important it's going to be to continue to keep him healthy and on the field and protecting Justin Herbert. Because what we continue to find out is when you protect Justin Herbert, he's a really good quarterback. He's a damn good quarterback. He could be a top 5 quarterback when he has the kind of protection that he had last night. The guy can make all the throws. I was impressed with what I saw out of him last night in this game. You don't seem to be as impressed.
Not at all. I wasn't at all. I think he made a lot. I mean, obviously the interception-worthy throw metric that went viral last night, everybody saw. But besides that, like the interception that he threw, sure, that was a tipped ball. That actually wasn't even, I don't think, one of his top 3 worst throws of the night. People forget on the first play of the game, the guy threw a pick 6 that New York buzzed in to tell everybody that it wasn't actually a pick when it very clearly was. I thought that was very funny. Also, my gosh, this Chargers offense it just screams Jim Harbaugh. I mean, they cannot snap the football without, it's like Jim Harbaugh's voice when they snap the football. 43 rushing attempts last night compared to just 25 passing attempts. You want to talk about a run first offense?
But you know that's what they were going to do. You said that, but you said yesterday on the show you thought that's what they were going to do.
100%. It is. It is what a Jim Harbaugh football team does. It is what Jim Harbaugh wanted to do with this football team. And Kamani Vidal coming out party last night. It's too bad that when they get Omari and Hampton back, he'll just be strewn by the wayside. To my point, though, this is not only a run first team. This is a run first, run second, and hey, why not? Let's just run third as well. And 25 times a game, sure. When we really need him to, Justin Herbert can complete 18 of those passing attempts. It was what they need him to be, right? But it's not. Justin Herbert does not have some insane amount of talent. Justin Herbert is not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Justin Herbert is a game manager in a really good run offense who can throw the ball occasionally.
He's not a game manager. Look, that might be what Jim Harbaugh is forcing him to be right now. There's a difference between what you're forced to be versus what you are and the talent that you bring to the table. Now, Jim Harbaugh has obviously decided that this is the way he wants to run the offense here. And it'll be determined still whether or not that winds up being the right decision for the long term for this team when you stack them up in this division. But, Sam, I think we've seen it throughout the time that he's played in the league that when he's healthy, and when he has the protection that a lot of other quarterbacks are afforded, I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league from a talent perspective. I really do.
I would just point you to the Staley years, man.
I saw the Staley years. I also see Staley's not there anymore. I'm just saying. There was an NBA controversy. Have you heard about it? Maybe? I know I have. We're going to talk about it next. Welcome back to this Friday edition of the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online. Be curious to get his thoughts on everything we learned in the last 24 hours on this NBA sports betting, illegal gambling controversy. Also, a couple other items that I want to get to with him. Tino Pattigno later on to talk NASCAR. But Sam, we've had about 24 hours to digest what we all woke up to on Thursday morning, and that is the sports betting, illegal betting controversy that has rocked the NBA and has rocked the sports world, because I think this has got longer legs than just the NBA side of it. I think we're going to wind up getting stuff from the college basketball side of this. If you read some of the tea leaves and read through some of the stories in terms of the fact that the people involved in this were also involved potentially in and allegedly in sports betting and being involved with college basketball, that there could be players that get plucked from that realm that winds up being involved in this. And, as much as people want to talk about, Sam, that the Chauncey Billups side of this has nothing to do with sports betting, it actually does, because there's a co-conspirator 8 or co-conspirator 9 that's mentioned in this indictment that
8.
gave out information on the Portland Trailblazers, who was sitting, who was starting, and the person basically matches Chauncey Billups to a T. So people who want to scream, this is only about Damon Jones, or this is only about Terry Rozier, and this only involves this or that, pump the brakes, read the indictment, and start to understand that this is much bigger than I think we even know it to be right now. Forget the poker part of it, because I could sit here and do an entire segment on that as somebody who's played in the underground poker scene in New York City in particular. I know a lot more about it than I probably should, but cast that aside for the moment and just talk about this from the sports betting perspective. What we now know about Terry Rozier, Damon Jones, the information Jones apparently or allegedly was giving out about LeBron James and games that James wasn't going to play in after he broke the all-time scoring record. There's a lot here, Sam. And I don't think we've necessarily got all the information. One last thing, and then I want to get your thoughts. One last thing. People who want, and anybody who listens to this show or watches this show knows I am not one to carry water for this president and this administration. But people who are trying to make this into, this is Donald Trump trying to get the NBA because the NBA is woke or players have spoke out against him, all that crap, you need to shut up. Because you don't know what you're talking about. Because this is an investigation that's been going on for years. Not a week, not 9 months, not 11 months. It's been going on for years. Before this president was in the White House, before Kash Patel was in the White House. So shut up, you don't know what you're talking about.
Ironically, and again, like yourself, not one to carry any water for anyone politically one way or another, but ironically, this was, for all the people saying that this was about Trump and coming for sports, this was an investigation that was opened under Biden's FBI. Regardless, that's besides the point. Yeah, but you're right. The stupid Olympics were going crazy yesterday with different people talking about it. 3 hours and 42 minutes, Jason Page. 3 hours and 42 minutes. That's how many minutes of my day I wasted yesterday skimming through this indictment. And yeah, again, I'll draw back to my main point, which is the crux in all of this. Everybody talking about this yesterday, a solid 65% of them were actively engaging in what I like to call the stupid Olympics. So here's the crux of what you need to know. The poker thing is interesting. The reason why it's important is because now you have a material connection between an active NBA employee and La Cosa Nostra, which is something that for, 40 years, the NBA has been trying to dispel. And now you've got evidence that, oh no, it's right back there. And maybe, by the way, it never left. Yeah, you're going to have sponsors pulling out of the NBA left and right, and that revenue machine is going to drastically slow down. That's why the poker thing's important, not because of all the information being exchanged at the poker table or the X-ray table or whatever everyone wants to talk about and make up non-important parts about. No, the reason it matters is because it could directly take money away from the NBA because it's a beast that they've been dealing with for 40 years. Now, on the player prop side, everybody and their mother and their sister and their neighbor and their cousin are so quick to say, gambling's the problem. If we didn't have all these gambling houses, man, there wouldn't be. If we didn't have all these player props, there wouldn't be none of this would be happening. Here's what the actuality of that situation is. Legal sports books like FanDuel, like DraftKings, Bet365, Hard Rock Bet, wherever you choose to do your business, those are actually the reason that this investigation came to fruition. Most of the evidence that's been shared with the federal government is actually coming from these sports books who are powerful enough, rich enough, have the means to create algorithms, to create computer systems that can identify when these kinds of things happen so that these kinds of things don't happen anymore. Legalized sports betting is actually one of the few things keeping sanity in this entire situation because of the tireless and constant what's the word I'm looking for here, Jason? Regulations under which they have to abide and all of the different codes that there are around these sports books. I think that there have been so many different people saying so many different incorrect, objectively wrong and disprovable things just trying to get a takeoff of there that they're not listening to the actual smartest people in the room. And when you do, you realize this is a problem for the entire association.
Here's the thing I wonder, and I wondered this out loud yesterday on one of my TV hits that I did on MSNBC, and I'll ask this to you. Is it the tip of the iceberg, or is it the entire giant, iceberg? And that's what I think none of us can get our heads around right now, is whether or not there are going to be more players that get swept up in this. Whether I find it hard to believe that it's just a couple of rogue guys that did this and nobody else is doing this. In a league and a sport and a culture that is rife with gambling. That, whether it's the back of the airplane, whether it's in the locker room before the game, whether it's in the hotel rooms, these guys love to gamble. I find it hard to believe that this is just limited to a couple of guys, Sam.
I mean, brother, they're literally what is LCN called? Organized crime. Yeah, if you think there was just a couple of these guys, you're just fooling yourself.
Well, who's going to talk? Who's going to be the rat that gets the biggest piece of cheese? That's what we're all going to wait around and find out. Shante Porter, first one to talk, gets the best deal? Maybe, I don't know. We will keep tabs on it. Robert Littal is next. Welcome back to this Friday edition of Sports Wrap, one of my favorite days of the week because it means we get to catch up with this guy, our friend, Robert Littal, founder of Black Sports Online. Hangs out with us every Friday on the show to chew the fat. How was your trip to New York last week? I know you were traveling.
Very long, but very good. I got to see my oldest daughter, who will be graduating this spring. She's in good spirits, so it was always good to see her and see that she's doing well.
What's she going to school for?
Public relations.
Oh, okay. Just tell her not to go into broadcasting. Just stay on the evil side. Stay on the PR side. Just don't get it. Tell her don't get into broadcasting. I have always made this joke to people. If I had a kid, which thankfully for the world I did not procreate. If I had a kid and he came up to me and was like, "Dad, I want to do what you do. I want to work in TV or radio. I want to be in broadcasting," I would punch him in the face like 5 times and say, "That's what working in broadcasting is like. If you still want to do it after that, you have my blessing." Other than that,
for the week.
It is not for the week, as we will get into here. First, I want to talk to you about the news of the day, and that is obviously this sports betting story that has rocked the NBA and really rocked the sports world, Robert. And we were talking about it a bit in the last segment, Sam and myself. There's a lot here. There's a lot to go through. As much as the sports betting stuff is fascinating, the whole scheme on the poker side of it is also fascinating to me as somebody who has played a lot of underground poker. That I actually talked about even when I was doing my hit yesterday for one of the news networks. That part of it is fascinating to me. And Chauncey Billups, and here's the question I want to ask you. And I don't know why you would have any more knowledge or insight on this than anybody else, but I value your opinion because it's usually different than mine and it comes from a different place and a perspective. How does a Chauncey Billups or a Terry Rozier or a Damon Jones, and Damon Jones, it sounds like, was childhood friends with somebody that was involved in this scheme, how do these people get swept up in this? Because that's the question a lot of people ask, is how do these guys, how does a Hall of Famer and Chauncey Billups, how do these guys get caught up in this?
I'm not surprised with the players, to be honest with you. I'm not surprised about that because athletes, as we know, do a lot of nefarious things, that the public don't know about. The difference is in 2025, a lot of that comes out more because of social media, but it was going on in 1995. It was going on in 1975 and 1945. It was going on with the Black Sox. So that part is not surprising to me. The Chauncey Billups part is surprising because by all accounts, this is not a guy that you would look at and say he's going to be connected to the mafia. He's going to be connected to Al Capone. So that's the question that I really have is how did this all come about from the beginning? And I'm going to be honest, I'm a man of logic. When I look at Chauncey Billups or Terry Rozier, anybody that gets caught up in something like this, my first thought is, What did they do that they were forced to do this? Or do they have gambling debts? Were there some threats? Like something, there had to be a demarcation part, line where something happened where they felt like we have no choice. And once you get in, as they say, there's only one way out.
It's very true. That's interesting, to think that, and I thought about this too. They must have, did they get sucked in by potentially, having their own gambling debts or their own gambling troubles or that sort of thing. But isn't it part of the culture of the NBA, maybe more than any other sport, betting and gambling in general, guys on the back of airplanes, the hotel rooms late at night, that guys, this is part of the culture of the NBA. And I don't know if that's something, and I don't think I hear enough about that from people that cover the league, that I'm the guy that's had to, go out on television and sort of talk about the fact that this is part of the culture. And, whether it's Gilbert Arenas, didn't Gilbert Arenas pull a gun on somebody?
I mean, how can they do it when they're taking all the money from the gambling companies? They can't go too hard on it when the bet blah, blah, blah is on the bottom tick or is presented by DraftKings or Fan or whatever it may be. They're very particular. I felt ESPN is very uncomfortable talking about it, considering they have their own, betting thing. And I'll tell you something else. The only difference between what's going on now, what's happening widespread, is that, it included, mafia figures. But players telling their buddies, telling their friends that, hey, I got a little shoulder, or my teammate got an ankle that nobody knows about, that is widespread. And you can't police it, because how would anybody know?
No.
But you've seen it with the NFL. You've seen it in other sports. This is a widespread thing because it's so easy to do.
Well, it's like Cash Patel said, this is insider trading.
Yes.
And you know what? No matter what you think about whatever political side you're on, this is not a political story. This is not Donald Trump trying to get the NBA. This is an investigation that was taking place well before Donald Trump's administration came into power for the second time. So
that's just Stephen A. trying to get some.
He's an idiot. I'm sorry, it just has to be said. He's an idiot. For the first time ever, I have to agree with Cash Patel. We've gone to stupid town on this.
He said it like it was Thanos.
Is an idiot.
Trump is coming.
Oh my
Thanos
God,
is coming.
He's such a dope. And the fact that this guy has the platform he does is mind blowing to me.
He's coming for Angel Reese. He's coming for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, you got to watch out.
Robert, seriously, how is this happening? Like, what alternate universe are some of these people living in?
Just look at the society we in. I mean, I laugh because if I didn't laugh, I would cry because we're not in a good place, as a country. And somebody even mentioned it, that if this happened 10, 20 years ago, the people that would be reporting on it would be so different, and it'd be so much more professional, and it'd be much more in detail.
They'd be reporting. They'd be reporting, not pontificating.
Now everybody making TikToks about it. The memes are out. It's just what we live in 2025. Thankfully, we have you to go out there and give us the real facts. So congratulations to you.
I'm giving opinions, but I'm doing it that's rooted at least in some fact.
People want that. I honestly think that there are people that want that, and it's difficult.
I was shocked at the number of people. I was shocked at the number of people that reached out to me yesterday after I was on TV to say, wow, a lot of thank yous for, kind of enlightening me on sort of the sports betting stuff. There's more to get to on this with Robert. Don't go anywhere. All right, another segment with Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, hangs out with us every Friday on the show. Talk about the top stories. Just to put a button on this, wrap a bow around this story that we were just talking about in the last segment about the NBA sports betting thing. If there was ever a time where I think Rob Manfred is smiling, Gary Bettman, Roger Goodell, and even to a degree Adam Silver. it might be, and the silver lining in all this might be this. They can now take a shining example of what not to do and why. You want to get perp walked? You want to be in a courtroom in a federal courthouse in shackles and cuffs like Terry Rozier was yesterday? You want to have your entire reputation and career thrown away like Chauncey Billups? This is what not to do.
Let me tell you why I don't believe. I mean, I'm sure they think that, but why I believe it won't matter.
Really?
And I tell you a name, Steve McNair. You say, why would you say Steve McNair? I remember what tragically happened to Steve McNair.
Awful.
And I remember thinking to myself that weekend, athletes are going to wake up and realize that they shouldn't put themselves in these type of situations with certain individuals, with certain women, because that, that's dangerous besides that, but it can also, have an adverse effect on their career. It didn't stop anything. I think what's going on behind the scenes with the gambling and the props and the insider trading, as you said, will continue to happen because athletes think they're smarter than the system. And they're going to think, well, if I tell Buddy Joe, Buddy Joe's not going to go tell us. And it'll happen again. And I guarantee you there'll be a different scandal. It may not be a year, it may not be 2 years, but we'll be back in the same place because sports repeats itself over and over and over again, not just with the successes, but also with the mistakes.
I think that's a very fair point. That you bring up. And great examples of, we'd like to think that these are moments of enlightenment for a lot of these guys, but in the end, they're really not. Can I go back to Stephen A. for a second? Because we had him apologizing kind of to Jasmine Crockett this week. Who, if you don't know, she's a representative, congresswoman from Texas, and Stephen A. had to go put out this statement, this video apologizing to her because of stuff he said and the heat that he got for it. Do you see any end in sight? Is there a tipping point that you could see when it comes to Stephen A., where this just simply becomes not tenable, whether for him, whether for ESPN, because those are the only two that matter, because SiriusXM loves it. They're just getting content, and that's what they're about. They're in the content business. But that where it just becomes too much, him getting dragged by, Kash Patel on Fox News, which is supposed to be, his buddies. Now they love him over there. Sean Hannity has him on every 5 minutes. I think they probably hang out together. That's just my thought.
Yeah, getting called out by your own team is always tough.
Yeah.
But I think in my opinion, if he wants to do this political thing, he just has to pick a side. I think he's trying to be on both sides because he is an African-American man with a big, platform. So I think he doesn't want to go too far because then you become Jason Whitlock and that's maybe a bridge too far for him. But, he wants to stay on Sean Hannity and he wants to stay on that side and wants to have those opportunities and be in those rooms. And, you know what they say, when you're trying to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. And I think he's kind of in that middle ground now. I think he's a little oversaturated. I think he's a little overworked. I think you see him too much, too often. But when somebody's offering you millions of dollars for 2 hours of your time here, 4 hours of your time there, I think he likes money. We know he likes attention. And I think he thinks he can do it. He's not married. His kids are, I believe, are grown now. He doesn't really have anything else holding him back from doing all of this stuff. I do think there comes a point where, just like anything, it's just too much, and then it all, blows up. And I think he does have to be careful. Serious spotlight on him. He cannot make the big mistake. He can't, he can do all of this kind of other fringe stuff, but the big mistake, I think people are waiting for that to blow it all up on him.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Couple things I want to get your thoughts on before we go in the last 2 minutes here. One, who wins the World Series? How many games?
Dodgers in 6.
That's the same thing I got. I got Dodgers in 6. I think it's going to be a more competitive series than people realize. The other thing, man, and it's a shame because it basically got swept under the rug because of this NBA gambling controversy. Victor Wembanyama. I watched his odds to win the MVP on Tuesday go from 12-1 on Tuesday to 5-1 after he put up a 40 and 15 and dominated against the Mavericks. And he wasn't just dominating against the Mavericks. He was dominating against an all-defensive first team guy in Anthony Davis in this game. This wasn't, beating up on the sisters of the poor. He was taking Anthony. He could do anything he wanted with Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis had no answers. You could see the look on Anthony Davis's
I think it's the
face.
look on all of our faces while it was scary. It was like, wait a minute. If this guy stays healthy.
Looked like a cheat code.
And he gets a few more pieces. I mean, it was one of those things where, you see the future and the future looks very dim for everybody else. That was impressive. That was one of the more, and we've seen SGA go for 55. I said Jokic is back and all. That was scary. And I know if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan today, you're smiling. But one game, deep breath. Let's see. He has to maintain it, and he has to stay healthy. That's always the number one thing for any young guy that shows all of this potential.
Especially anybody as big as him and still kind of as fragile with that frame. By the way, hats off to Stephen Curry last night. I think he had 42 in the overtime win for the Warriors against the Nuggets. Steph was as good as it gets.
Aaron Gordon with the 50 balls. Okay.
Robert, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Welcome back to the show. On this Friday, we have our staples. We've got Page versus the Prince coming up in 10 minutes. Week 8 NFL picks that we'll give you. We have Robert Littal that just joined us from Black Sports Online to talk about the top stories of the week, which we've done. And now we've got this guy. Because if it's a Friday, it's a NASCAR Friday, and Tino Pattigno is here. Let's effing go! Tino Pattigno, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You can catch him there on the weekends with his betting advice. Also over on Tubi. And just a couple of races left to dispose of that advice. Tino Pattigno. We've got Martinsville this week. Last race before the playoff championship in Phoenix next week. Before we get to that, because we didn't have Brian Twining, who joins us on Mondays, because there was just too much going on this weekend. I wanted to get your thoughts on what we saw last week at Talladega, and you never know what you're going to get in these super speedway races. And Talladega never disappoints from that regard. But I wanted to get your thoughts on sort of what we saw with Chase Briscoe obviously getting the win and punching his ticket for Phoenix next week.
Chase Briscoe winning Talladega, that may have been the surprise story, right? Not one of a driver that stands out in terms of super speedway success like Blaney, Logano, Keselowski do. But them being in the championship 4 is very well deserved. Most top 5s, up there for the most top 10s amongst all drivers this year. And this is a driver that switched teams. Right now he's on Joe Gibbs Racing, has the equipment that really suits his driving style, and he's able to get the most out of those cars. And that 19 car specifically, he had Martin Truex Jr. on that team, in the last few years prior to Briscoe joining in, and they really weren't having that same level of success that they were as he did during his championship runs. To see Briscoe having this success, I'm not surprised by it, but to see them in the championship 4 is what they can now deem as a successful season. Obviously, they want to win it all at Phoenix and win the championship, but to make it there in his first year with the team, notching 3 victories, a career high for him, it really goes to showcase that, yes, he gets a super speedway win, but they, looking back on their entire season as a whole, deserve to be there. He talked about the differences between Fords and now driving the top-tier equipment in a Toyota with Joe Gibbs Racing, like I mentioned, and he's just been the second half of the year since he's learned how to drive the cars better with how the style of they're prepared for has just been better. And Talladega as a whole, Blaney, Logano were up there trying to punch their ticket to championship 4. That was their chance to get 2 Team Penske cars into the championship. Didn't succeed all in that. Kyle Larson was in the lead as of late. He was one of my picks to win it, which was surprising. Not to me. He's been getting better, and unfortunately, he runs out of gas on the last lap. But happy to see Briscoe where he belongs.
Is there something that you can point to real quick with Briscoe and Phoenix that gives you hope that he actually could win?
Yes, yeah. I mean, well, that's one of his best tracks. So that's the thing is like he's an underdog in terms of thinking he gets the championship in his first year with this team. But performance-wise, he deserves to be there. He's one of the top 4 drivers in the sport right now. I think a lot of people, that sort of is like, okay, wow, Briscoe has arrived and he deserves to win a championship this year. He won at Phoenix in 2022, his first career win, and that was in Stewart-Haas Racing equipment. And I keep bringing this up, when I talk about Chase Briscoe, because that was way lesser equipment than a top-tier organization like Joe Gibbs. So to see him there in that spot with a chance to win, he could do it. All
right, Martinsville. Who won this playoff race last year?
Ryan Blaney. This has been his track the past 2 years. He's been in, we talk about clutch moments in sports or Game 7 walk-off wins. No one does that better in NASCAR than Ryan Blaney. He's been in must-win scenarios.
He's going to need it this week.
Exactly. So he has to go, and not only does he have to win this week, Jason, he has to go 3 in a row at this track in this fall race with needing to win to advance. And it's interesting because I look at that on one sense where, okay, he's clutch, he's not going to feel the pressure, but 3 in a row is a tall task to get it done. I think he can, but it's going to be tough.
If assuming somebody in that 5 to 8, Byron, Logano, Blaney, Elliott doesn't win, for Bell and Larson, is it just stay out of trouble, finish the race, and you're in?
It is, but with all of those drivers that are below the cut line, having won at this track before, they can't be too comfortable. That's the best part about what makes this race at Martinsville so exciting. Not only is it the race before the championship to get into the championship, but all of these drivers, these are not only the top drivers in terms of the 8 that are in this round statistically this season, but when they get to Phoenix for a chance to win the championship, any one of them can do it. This is the most open I've seen the sport in terms of champions of getting there that it's been in a while. Now, Team Penske, for instance, if Blaney or Logano make it in, they're going to be the favorites because they're the best at Phoenix with their cars and how they're prepared there.
Right now, when we look at the Cup Championship, the betting odds on it right now to win the whole thing, it's Christopher Bell at plus 250 according to FanDuel, Denny Hamlin at plus 290, Kyle Larson at plus 370, and Chase Briscoe, who we were just talking about, at plus 370. Are you surprised, given sort of his performance throughout these playoffs and the fact that he hasn't won a single race, that people are still this high on Larson? I know he's one of the greatest drivers in the world, but it just feels like something isn't connecting when we talk about the fact that he hasn't won a race in these playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. In terms of being surprised, I'm not super surprised because this to me is like a New England Patriots, old school, just grind out these races or games, if you will, and just be able to win to move on. And to me, that's that championship mindset where they are not having the same level of success that the greatest driver in the world is capable of. But if he makes it to Phoenix, he still has the best shot out of everyone else to win a championship.
All right, in the final 30 seconds, who winds up in that final race in Phoenix?
All right, so I think with a win this weekend, Ryan Blaney locks himself in, and then Kyle Larson advances on points.
It's going to be fun. You going to Phoenix?
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know just yet.
All right. Tino Pattigno does a great job on NASCAR. Catch him on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio when it comes to the betting side of it, also on Tubi. Always appreciate you, my friend. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the race. We'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We're coming back. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. Before we do, a couple of quick reminders. SportsWrap weekends on many of these same affiliates, and if not, check your local listing for time and schedule. It could be on a different station in your region, in your market. The SportsWrap with Jason Page weekend edition, 30 minutes, best from the week. Sometimes we have some added content there that we actually don't have during the weekday show, so you'll want to make sure to tune in for that. SportsWrap with Jason Page, the podcast. If you have not checked it out yet, go and do so. The audio version of this show, Monday through Friday, available wherever you get your podcasts. Go and subscribe. It's free. It is not commercial free anymore, but it is just 45 minutes and a great listen while you're on your way to work, in the car, the treadmill, planes, trains, in the shower, you name it. You can listen to us anywhere. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is what we're trying to get you all to go and check out. It is the show available there Monday through Friday. It is fantastic. You can watch the show commercial-free there, 45 minutes Monday through Friday. We also have Sports Wrap Shorts, which are the top stories. Anything breaks in sports, we are right there on YouTube immediately with a Sports Wrap Short with a quick take, something you can get in and out. Just takes a minute of your time. We appreciate it if you go and subscribe to our Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. And without any further delay on this, can you believe it? It's a Friday already. We're already to Week 8 in the NFL. And on a Friday, that can mean only one thing, Sam Yarnell.
It's Friday, and that means it's time for the weekly face-off for sports betting bragging rights. It's Page versus the Prince on the Sports Wrap.
Thank you, Chad Erickson. Sam Yarnell, Week 8 in the NFL, as I alluded to. 2-2 for me last week. First hiccup for you in a while at 1-3. You're 17-11 on the season. I am 16-12 as I continue my run of 2-2s. All right, get back on the beam, Sam Yarnell. What do you got for me this week?
Allegedly 1-3. That episode does not exist anywhere. It is completely unverifiable, my record to last week. Anyway, to Week 8 we go. Give me the Saints against the Buccaneers. I know, I love the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have been my team. I'm the one who bet on the Buccaneers before the season started to win the Super Bowl. Here's the thing. They're really hurt right now, and they're very beat up. And this Saints team, well, they're pretty mad that they lost that game to Chicago last week. You heard what Spencer Rattler was saying in the media all week. I'm going to think that the Saints bounce back here. It's also a little bit of a system play. A lot of money on the Buccaneers, and the numbers move in the opposite direction. So I'll go with the Sharps. I'll take the Saints plus the 4.5. In New England, I've been waiting for this spot for a while. It was the spot where I could really tell you all how I feel about Drake May, and that he is maybe the most fraudulent MVP candidate we've had since Dak Prescott 4 years ago. Drake May definitely not a real MVP contender. And if you look at the defenses that the Patriots have played on this run, when I did the math, I think the best one was 25th best in the NFL at the time he played them. Yeah, he's going up against the Cleveland Browns this week. Have fun with that, Drake May. I'll take Cleveland in this one, plus 7.5. You're giving me more than a touchdown with the Cleveland Browns defense? I'll take it. Browns plus 7.5 on the road in New England. 49ers, Texans, under 41.5. Low number, and we're going to go even lower. This Texans offense is terrible, and the Texans defense is great. The 49ers offense is so hurt right now. I don't know if I could trust them to even get in the end zone in this game. I'll go under 41.5 in 49ers, Texans. And finally, Jason Page, Steelers, Packers, under the 45.5 in the Rodgers Get Back special. I think that Steelers defense and that Packers defense shine again this weekend. Under 45.5 in Packers Steelers. 49ers Texans under 41.5. Browns catching more than a touchdown on the road in New England. And Saints plus 4.5 against the Buccaneers.
Wow. We are opposed on one of our four. I don't know how anybody can take the Saints. We're in Suckville right now when it comes to the Saints. As I said, teams don't know they suck early in the year. They were cover machines early in the year. Not so anymore. So I'll mention this one first. Give me the Bucks minus 4.5 against the Saints, seeing as it's the one that we actually disagree on. Bengals and Jets. Give me the Bengals minus the 6.5 all day in the Joe Flacco Bowl. In Joe we trust. Sitting at restaurants alone by himself. No man should have to do that. Give me the Bengals minus 6.5 against the Jets, who may go winless this year. The Falcons minus 7.5 against the Dolphins. Why? That Falcons defense, and man alive if the Dolphins mailed it in on the 2025 season. I love the Falcons minus 7.5 in this spot. Giants and Eagles. I'll say the same thing the last time these two teams played. I can't pick against the Giants, but I sure as hell can't pick the Giants. The Giants and Eagles I will go over the 43.5. I think the Giants lose this game. I think the Eagles are looking for some comeuppance. So I'll take the Eagles to win the game, not officially for these picks, but my official pick is Giants-Eagles over 43.5. Bengals -6.5, the Falcons -7.5, the Giants and Eagles over 43.5, and the Bucks -4.5. Sam Yarnell. 10
if
seconds.
Bengals-Jets is the Flacco Bowl, what's Bengals-Ravens?
Flacco Bowl 2? Oh, well, I got nothing. Hey, thanks to Tino Pattigno and Robert Littal, you, Sam, and you for watching all week. We'll see you back here on Monday. Enjoy the World Series. Oh, who we taking? Quick!
Dodgers in 4.
Dodgers in 6. Bye.